Okay.
I'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Would all those would please rise to pledge allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the 2019 town budget presentation. I'm going to call the roll. I'll start on my left.
Peg Hurd.
Thomas McDougall.
David Corpus.
Bob Carrier.
Larry Brown.
Tammy Smith.
Justin Bellin.
Mark Courier.
The selectmen open their meeting.
I will in the December 11th, 2018 Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay. First item on the agenda will be the town clerk's budget presentation. And just to be sure, if you have questions, please raise your hand and actually wait till she's all done. That way you don't lose her concentration. If that's okay with the committee. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my first line is 120, which is the salaries part-time line. It's marked at $40,429. This line is to pay for the salary of 3 part-time clerks to cover 44 and a half hour average work week, 49 hours a month. The increase reflects a 1.7% COLA for 6 months and a possible 2% merit for 6 months. It's a line increase of $792 over 2018. Line 130, the salaries elected is $53,471. This is the town clerk tax collector salary line. The increase reflects a 1.7% COLA for 6 months and a possible 2% merit for 6 months. It's a line increase of $1,907 over 2018. Line 220 is FICA, $5,822. This is the line for all employees' taxes at 6.2%. It's a line increase of $167 over 2018. Line 225, Medicare, $1,362. This line is for all employee taxes at 1.45%. It's a line increase of $39 over 2018. Line 240 is the training. This line is for the town clerk tax collector spring workshops, annual conferences, and any additional training that is needed. The line is the same as last year. Line 330, registry of deeds, is $700. This line is used to record the tax liens, lien redemptions, and record tax deeded properties. This is the same as what we requested last year. Line 391, legal notices and ads. This line is used to pay for an employment notice being placed in the newspaper. This line is actually increased $150 over last year's, only because I think we were short this year for the notice that we did. Line 395 is professional services. It's $9,200. This line is used to pay for the contracted services required by my department. The contracts include software from Avatar, which is our tax program, Innerwear, which does our dog licenses, beach passes, boat passes, transfer station decals, and various online transactions. It also includes LHS, which is our programming company that we use to program our ballot machines for each election, and it also includes the printing of those town ballots that they do. Sanders Research is also included in this. They do our tax liens and our deed research. They do our tax lien research and our deed researches. It also includes the post office box and any background checks for new employees. We have one scheduled election for 2018, and that's why it's being decreased. Last year we had 3 with a possible special election. This year we're budgeting for 1 with a possible special election. The line is being decreased by $2,070 over 2018. Printing and copies is at $1. This line has paid for the automotive red books in the past. We currently use the free access to 2 online sites that have been working well for us right now. This line is the same as last year. Line 620, supplies, is $2,500. This line pays for the tax bill stock, the printer cartridges, printer drums, paper, envelopes, labels, file folders, storage boxes, dog tags, business cards, and any miscellaneous office supplies that we need. This line is the same as last year. Line 625, which is postage, is $7,100. This line pays for the mailing of absentee ballots, renewal notices, DMV daily work, online purchases, dog letters, civil forfeiture letters, tax and sewer bills for July and December, tax reminder notices, certified delinquent notices, mortgage lien notices, impending deed notices, mortgage deed notices, fish and game monthly reports, vital records monthly reports, and mailings to the registry of deeds for liens and deeds being recorded. This line is the same as last year. Line 740 is equipment maintenance for $250. This line pays to have the annual maintenance done on our ballot machine. The school pays for the second ballot machine that has maintenance done. The line is the same as last year. Line 741, which is equipment purchases, is $2,000. This line is for a printer replacement and for a safe replacement. This line is the same as last year. Line 840, mileage and travel. I think what you have in front of you is $2,000 budgeted.
Yes.
That's being decreased to $500. This line reimburses employees who have to use their personal vehicles to travel for training, conferences, workshops, and the post office when the town vehicle is not available. It is a line increase over $250 over what we had budgeted last year. Line 850 is dues, it's $40. This line pays for the Town Clerk Association and the Tax Collector Association dues. This line is the same as last year. Line 890 is miscellaneous for $1. This line has remained open for miscellaneous items that were not planned for and have no line item to be placed in. This line has remained the same. And so, in ending, my proposed budget, I believe, is a 1% increase over last year. And I look forward to answering any questions that you may have about the budget.
The only thing, what's the total of this one?
The total, the new total?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I should have presented that. That would be $124,176,
Okay.
which is a total increase of $1,236 over last year, I believe.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, seeing none. Seeing none, I guess you're all set.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thanks.
You got a question?
That,
Hold it.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
it's not a line item question. Are you comfortable that the staffing patterns that you have provide for two people in the office coverage?
For the current workload that I have, no.
You got an answer? Get your answer? All set?
Okay, thank you for the answer.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Now we got questions going now. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the expenditure report, and your year ends at the end of this year, calendar year, correct? So are you going to use
All of it? No.
for line 004140 625 postage, the 7,100?
I don't have that report. I didn't receive any,
Okay, I just got
anything
it.
taken out for November or December.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like you've expended $5,600.
It's a lot
So
more than that. We
on
just did tax
postage.
bills. We just did tax bills, so that was it has not shown up.
That hasn't shown up yet. Okay. And then for line, the equipment purchase line 4140 741. You have $1,500 still left. You're asking for $2,000, you still have $1,500 left remaining.
I don't normally spend that line. We keep that line there so that if I have a printer that goes down, I can immediately purchase one for motor vehicle transactions. Also the safe, because of the amount of money that I have, if that safe breaks, I have to have one immediately.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
No, that's it for me.
Tom, go ahead.
Does the, I believe you used the biggest use for the printers to car registrations, correct? Does,
For those particular printers that I'm budgeting for, yes.
yeah. Does the state mandate what printer you buy? Is it a special printer?
They did. I had to. They give us the specs for it.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Right.
I guess I'd like to ask the Board of Selectmen a question, if they're okay, if you're all right with that.
That's fine.
So we as the board approved a different budget than this?
I believe it was 2,000 was the difference.
Right.
$1,500 was the difference in mileage, correct?
I'm not quite sure why that budget isn't the one being presented. without
We had a
approval of the
department
Board of
head meeting,
Selectmen.
and we were
Right.
asked to come up with cuts, and this was one of the cuts that I approved.
So you're supposed to go through the Board of Selectmen, and it hasn't.
You'd have to talk to your town administrator about that.
If I can intervene on that, because you've already set your budget, now it's coming to us, you're making the changes to us. They have to stay firm, because if they don't, then it's going to juggle all kinds of numbers here, because that's how they voted on that. See, that's not coming out till now, because, well, we're looking at it, and we,
I think there's a little bit more to this conversation. I think what happened is that we did have some department heads said they would make some cuts, and I think that's what happened last week, is you heard some people make cuts. So now people are saying this is where you could cut it, to try to give you some options, but the budget that presented was the budget that you had.
yeah,
And then Michelle's giving you some options of where she feels that she could cut it, is what she's
Yeah.
saying, if you need to make cuts. So she's still presenting the budget the board voted on, but she's
Yeah.
saying if you need to make cuts, this is where, and that's what the
Well,
department heads
That
are
makes,
doing.
Okay.
that makes sense.
but what she's doing, it though, she's making it now, because this is what I think I told, we had a conversation, that this could happen. You know, in fact, after we get done tonight, again, the next day. Larry?
That is, so that we have no problem, so to speak, in how far you're going to be able to walk. But first socks, then shoes. And so it sounds like the department head with the tightest control of your budget has figured out how you can put on a different pair of socks. The selectmen just need to do it so the shoes can go back on, so they can come up with a new number.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? I think you can go this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a request.
Yes, Brian?
Could I move up the planning board one to next? It's a $2,000 budget. I don't need to sit here all evening.
Especially through the fire department.
That would be all right?
You got planning, if the
Denied?
committee, if the committee does not have any problem with that, I can do that.
Both,
Pardon?
planning board and.
Well, I would say he's gonna do planning,
No, I'm just doing the planning board budget.
but you're still gonna be here, right? For the planning and code?
No. I'm not a department head.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead with the planning board. That's off a little bit. You got that, Sherry?
Keep looking, Mark. No problem.
I would have said no, but it's okay.
Our budget for the planning board for 2019 is $250 higher than it was last year. Everything has stayed the same except for public notices, which we increased to $650, a $250 increase. This is planned for 5 public hearings on the benefit of the planning board. 1 for CIP, 2 for planning board regulations, 1 for master plan, and 1 for zoning. The rest of the money for our public notices is paid by the applicant. So that is why there's the only $250 increase, and that's the whole budget, basically. Nothing's changed in 2 years.
Anybody got any questions? I guess you're all set, Brian.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, I'm going back to where I started from, or if I do, it's insurance and benefits.
The ones I'm doing tonight, I was just gonna give you all a handout.
Okay.
That would be easier. Yeah, sit down. Easier that way.
Oops.
Okay, just take packet, one pass it down. I'm doing several budgets tonight, that's why I'm just handing that over.
Same as, okay, never mind.
What is, this is just the,
Take one section and pass down. They're all the
Come back
same,
to the rest
they're already
of
in
what we're doing.
groups.
We're not gonna
okay.
do them all at once,
Groups.
because we're jumping around my
All right.
budgets tonight.
there you go. You're in groups, wait a minute. Okay, I got you now. Jeez, this is gonna start off too bad.
The first line item is health insurance, that's obviously the biggest line item. Last week, the Board of Selectmen changed that number to the adjusted proposed to the 580,702.79, which is that number that says adjusted proposed. I went to try to change that, it was actually locked in my disk this afternoon, so I couldn't change it. But that is the correct number. So the bottom line, the total is 817,603.98. The next line is dental, which is 2318.31. So that is our dental insurance retirement, and that is 88,333.88. Life insurance 588. Employment insurance 4625, which actually is a little bit of a decrease. Workers' comp 66,572. Property insurance 52,464. Property insurance deductions is 4,000 for a total of 817,603.98. The second page, you will notice there's been a lot of talk about how much do other towns contribute towards health insurance premiums for their residents. So I did just a query on the listserv, which other town administrators have, and I said how much do other towns contribute towards and what type of plans they have. And that information is provided there. As you can see, we're pretty much in the ballpark of what other towns, you know, we went down from New Durham all the way down to Milton, and 20-some towns here, a little over 20 towns, how much the town pays. We pay between 80 and 90, depending on date of hire, what the town portion is. So, and
Okay. Go ahead, Peg.
Is there a typo under Belknap County?
Belknap.
The employee portion is 75% and the town pays 94?
I think, yes, there is a typo. It should be, employee portion is 6%, there is a typo.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, there's an insurance company somewhere really happy.
I have that.
Good.
Good eyes, good eyes.
Any other questions?
Uh,
Go ahead, Tom.
How many employees do we have in town that are eligible for insurance and dental benefits?
We have, right now we have 21 that are taking it, 26 that could.
Okay, so 26.
We have several positions that are open, so we could have 29 total.
Right, okay, so you're budgeting for, right now we've got 26, you budgeted for 29. Okay.
Actually, 20, yeah, 29.
29?
Yes, Peg.
Buyouts?
We have 5 taking buyouts,
And that amount is?
3,200.
Thank you.
I have to keep that in mind though, because people take buyouts, however, things can change.
Mm-hmm.
You might take a buyout and then next month your husband or wife loses their job. So we can do a buyout, and that's great, but we have to have enough money in the insurance line so that if they have a life-changing event, then we can't plan on that forever.
Okay, that's, hold on, 3,200 for 5 people or 5 times?
3,200 for each.
3,200 apiece.
Okay.
And it's paid quarterly,
Okay.
roughly $811.
Okay, Larry?
Just one question of information. On the buyout, is it a seesaw, or once out, are you out?
No, if it's a life-changing event, you can come back in.
You can
You have to-
come
You
back.
have to be able to come back in. You have to be able to provide insurance.
The second question is on 4155-250, life insurance. Who is life and who is the beneficiary?
The employee's life, and the employee designates their own beneficiary.
Okay, because there's a certain big box store that has itself as the beneficiary.
Oh, no, the employee designates their beneficiary, and it's a base policy.
Good. And it's 10,000? Thank you.
And, sorry.
Dave?
You mentioned, so life-changing, I'm assuming it's the same as how you can, like, marriage, death, all of the
For
same
every
exact
child,
ones?
you know,
Yeah, okay.
Those type of things.
Just
A
to,
life-changing event.
just to confirm.
If it's death, you get a full buyout.
Okay.
Okay, my last one, decrease in your health insurance, so I'm assuming you got the new rates from.
You've got
We got the
the,
final rates, and that's
Okay.
what it was. We got
Okay.
the final rates from school care, and then we had what they call a premium holiday, we got a little
Yes,
discount.
Oh, yes.
And I guess our group was a little healthier than they thought we initially were gonna be, so we were,
Well, the whole,
yeah, the
whole
group was-
state
the whole
is,
state.
yeah,
So which
yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
But initially they couldn't tell us that, so we had to
Yeah, I
benefit a
know.
little higher, then we could go a little bit lower.
Okay, good.
I also did look into alternative health insurance costs out there recently. We can't do it for another year. It doesn't look like it would save us a lot of money overall by the whole town.
Yeah.
We're looking at the premium I looked at last week. I actually got a plan from somebody else for about $6,000 for the town. But unfortunately, that would cost our employees about $3,000 deductible. We're going to bid it again. But that's not significant enough for what our employees. So-
Because we certainly have looked at other places too.
But
And
I know it was important enough for me to do
Yeah.
that, so I did sit down with them, and I actually had someone else sit down with me as well and do it, because I've been on this plan for a long time.
just a reminder, make sure you put the line numbers so Sherry can see it, and then the title.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead, Tom.
sorry.
Sorry.
That's all right, Tom.
Just a general comment. We're for a company that's got roughly 12,000 employees, and our company share of insurance is roughly what the town's average is when you budget it for 29,000 people. So we're not, or 29 people, sorry. So it's not an insane amount that the town's paying for insurance, health insurance anyway.
Any other questions? Okay, well said, Heather. So, I guess we're going to fire.
No, that was just, it was just insurance.
Oh, yeah, it's insurance.
Next
Insurance
part.
and benefits.
I got on the agenda.
Oh,
I
that's
got-
included, okay, sorry. I didn't put
I
it
got,
on.
yeah, I got
that-
fire
that
in
was
there.
Insurance. It's gone.
Got it.
We don't- These are for later.
That'd be fine.
Do you have a-
Okay, maybe I should have changed my agenda on this. All right, Steve.
That's all right.
I
Go
already
ahead.
gave them a copy of it.
Okay,
Conservation, right?
Conservation, okay.
right. Conservation, it's the same budget as last year. And the question that I would expect you guys to have is if you're looking at what we've spent already, there's considerable amount that we haven't, but it will be gone by the end of the year. So we have, there's one bill that, it always seems to be a race at the end of the year. That's the water testing from UNH. Heather, have you seen that come in yet?
I've not seen that document yet. I've got another water bill, water testing bill, but it wasn't that one.
Yeah, okay, well, TPPA is supposed to have a call into them. And the other big one is that we've, as you probably know, we've had some issues with easement encroachments around the Heron Circle development, and we actually are almost done with that, but we have some survey work that now needs to be done to redraw the lines of the conservation easement, and that is about, that plus replacing some of the markers that some of the aggravated parties removed is $4,500. So for the bottom line budget, we're going to eat it all up.
Okay, so this is going to be sufficient, what you got proposed in front of us?
It's,
Or that you got to go up?
I don't want to go up. I want to leave it.
Okay.
I want to leave it where it is for this year. And what I'm planning to do next year is change the legal defense line, put it on the warrant article as a revolving fund, because it's impossible to predict when you're going to have a legal problem. and we need to build the costs, to build the fund up. So we've spent on this problem around Heron Circle, we've spent over $20,000. But there's just no telling when something like that would arise.
Okay, that's line number 01-4243-320, legal defense.
Correct.
You do have a revolving fund already in there, but I don't know what the amount is. Don't you? You have
No.
3.
No, we have the conservation fund, which is not a revolving fund. It's not funded out of the town budget. The conservation fund is funded from the land use change tax, where we get 50% of the land use change tax, and then we divide it between those 3 funds. It's not a part of the regular town budget.
Okay, but you do have revolving funds in there, don't you?
No, none of these are revolving, and I wouldn't call I guess you could call the conservation fund a revolving fund, because it doesn't go away if you don't spend it.
I don't have the book, but I can probably pull it out, but I thought I saw them in the revolving fund. It's in the town report.
It is in the town report. The revolving fund is in the town report, but this is not part of his budget right now.
Oh, okay.
This is a separate, that's separate. It's his budget that he's asking for the town operating.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Are there any questions at all? See none? You're all set, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, can I get the fire one?
Ready for information overload?
That's in too. I didn't print everything. I don't think that's what I thought was needed.
Not 95 pages.
Yeah, doesn't need to print 95 pages.
Jeez, no.
All right, does that work for Ruth?
Yeah, we all set, Larry? Okay. Okay.
So I know there's an email that was sent out with some questions that you had, Tammy. I have a response to that. I don't know how you guys want to handle it, but it's
I would
written
like to go through that first, and then we're going to get to it. I mean, I'd like to go through this whole budget.
through the budget first, and then we'll
Yeah,
do that.
then we go right
That's
into
fine.
that. It's okay for you, Tam?
Yep.
All right.
Do we have an email for that?
I don't know,
What?
but well, the email anyway.
There it is.
All right, so are we ready?
All set.
We'll try not to be too confusing. But I also made some changes after the budget the Board of Selectmen approved. I'm trying to figure out when that button's not working. Because it wasn't working. All right. I made some changes after the Selectmen approved it. So in the packet that you guys got, there should be a BOS approved column and then an updated column. Do you have that
Yes.
available in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. So the PowerPoint reflects the adjustments that I made. And like this first slide, for example, it says after BOS approval, I took another $500 out. Basically what I was trying to do was get it down to as level funded as possible. And because I presented so early in September, there was things that changed in October and November that I'll go through and explain how I came up with these changes.
Okay.
So the gist of all the slides are set up the same. It represents why there's an increase and what the difference is, and then if I made any adjustments after the selectmen approved it. So the first one is the full-time salary line. That's 2 full-time employees. It includes a COLA and a merit raise, and after the BOS approved it, I took another $500 out. And that was basically the night stipend that those guys received. They're not doing as much as anticipated, so I felt that I can take that out a little bit, or reduce that a little bit. Part-time salary line stayed the same. It does include COLA and merit for all the call firefighters. Basically, we didn't use all the money. There was a lot less long-term incidents this year. Less people responding, and I think that we can keep that the same for another year. Salary elected, that does not have a COLA or a merit. So after the selectmen approved it, I took out the COLA, which originally it didn't have the merit either. So the increase is only based on the raise that was given in July of last year, or this year, 6 months ago. FICA is reflected on the previously mentioned lines. Same thing with Medicare. So here's one of the bigger changes. New Hampshire retirement system, sometime in October, they announced that the rate will be going down to 30.09%. We had originally budgeted on 31.89%. So this is the first decrease after several years of steadily increasing. So instead of there being an increase in the line, there's actually a reduction in the line, $69.98. And again, this is one of the ones that the selectmen did not approve yet. Training stays the same, no changes. That's for new certifications and continuing education. Employee testing for background checks, they're about $48 a piece. The New Hampshire Bureau of EMS now requires a background check for anybody that's getting a new EMS license, and new hires also require a background check. Eventually, this is one of the lines that I'd like to get some extra money in for medical screening, which we do no medical screening for any of our employees. So that's something that we really need to do, especially with the new cancer bill for firefighters requires an NFP physical. At about $600+ each, times 40. That's why it's not in there. Uniform stays the same, so that's duty uniforms for the full-time, part-time, the call firefighters, and it's also our personal protective equipment, our gear, which chews up the majority of it. It's about $2,500 a set for a coat and pants, and this budget includes 6 sets. Gear is good for 10 years. There's 40 people in the department. You can multiply that out. You have to buy 5 or 6 sets a year.
Okay.
Contract services, these are the changes that reflect the overall change. So it's down $1,200. I can go through them all individually if you want, but I think you all have seen the PowerPoint ahead of time.
They have everything in front of them, and I even added some pages to it.
So after the selectmen approved it, again, trying to reduce the budget back to, or to no increase, Item responding was moved to the revolving account because the majority of that program is an ambulance. It's used to run the ambulance. The emergency reporting is our NFIRS software. That was reduced by $508. Last year I had gotten a notice that they'd be increasing this year. That increase never happened, so I took it out again. Thanks. Electric. If there wasn't a projected increase from Eversource, that line would be okay.
All right.
But because of the increase, we're bumping it up to 19% for the supply side, which is the $800 difference. Heat, we're adding $1,000 to it. I'm already overspent on that line, more than $9,500. Let's see what I'm at right now. Oh boy. I should be at 11.8 right now, so I'm expecting to be around 12,250 at the end of the year. We've had some heating issues with the new station, so I'm kind of hopeful that we'll get that squared away and the 9,500 will be enough, but I can't guarantee that, so we'll see what happens. I took $100 out of the water line. That's the domestic water for the station. That's based on usage. We cut back the sprinkler time on the irrigation system for the lawn. So I'm hoping that we can, again, keep within budget on that. In the highway department, hopefully won't be filling up the trucks watering the roads as often, because that chews through some water too. Hydrant fee stays the same. We know Andy's opinion on that. Telephone, here's another spot that I made some adjustments. So originally when I presented to the selectmen, I shut the phone off at Station 2. It never gets used, everybody has a cell phone, so that saved us $430. I looked at the bills, I took another $4,500 based on that, the historical usage. And then the Verizon iPads and hotspots, they're all used in the ambulance for transmitting EKGs to the hospitals and doing our temperature reports. So I transferred all of that to the revolving account because it's an ambulance-based expense. Again, strictly to try to control the bottom line of this budget that I'm presenting. Public education, CPR classes, that's the little bags that we buy the kids for Fire Prevention Week. At the school, so that's $600. It stays the same. There's no issue with that line. Printing, mostly the color copier, and then any stationery we need at the station. Letterhead, business cards, that type of stuff. So I took $50 out of that line. Supplies, I dropped at $1,500 originally. So now that we got the new station, we have a much easier way to control what we have for supplies. We can bulk order, and there was some filters added to the budget for the old station that we no longer need at the new station. So I reduced it $1,500, and then I continued to look at it after the presentation, and I think I could take another $1,000 out.
So the supply line is changing?
Yep, $3,000 from $4,500.
Okay.
Vehicle fuel, that increased to $250. The price of fuel's gone up. I'm comfortable with that. And that 6% overspent year to date was for September. That's not over the entire budget.
Okay.
And then the same thing with the diesel fuel. That's up $1,250, and that's mostly due to the increase in the diesel fuel prices. Building maintenance stays the same. Some of the things that we do is the sprinkler test, the Plano vent maintenance, the generator maintenance, and then anything else that Pat really doesn't have the money for, and building maintenance on his department that we may need to do garage door openers or little things like that.
Okay.
There's a circulator pump that we had to replace. So it's just enough in case there's something that isn't quite within the scope of government buildings.
Okay.
Vehicle maintenance, I'm leaving it at $14,000. Every year I've overspent that line, and every year I'm hopeful that something won't break the next year, but it never seems to happen. So this year, currently at $12,400, but I know I have at least the invoice for 2 front tires on engine 6, and some of the tires for engine 3 that I'm trying to track down the invoice for. So that right there alone will put that over $14,000.
Okay.
Equipment purchase remains the same. We've been piecemealing the 4-inch hose over the last 4 years, which is taking up a big chunk of that. We're still behind on pagers. Every year we get a matching forestry grant, so that chews up $2,000. But the other thing we really need to start doing is adding 1 3/4 tack line. Last time we bought some, Andy was the chief, and there's none left on the rack, so we're short there.
Okay.
We'll end up buying some of that this year, even though it's not listed here. I'm gonna have to start getting some.
Not this year?
What's that?
You're not doing it this year, are you?
Not 2018, 2019 in January, I'm gonna have to place an order, which might push that 4-inch out another year. We'll see how it goes. So here's another change that happened after I presented to the selectmen. We had a 5-year lease on the copy machine at the station. So I called them up and I realized that it was gonna mature in May, so I just paid off the balance. So I took that entire $1,571 out. Part-time EMS on call, that's the night stipend that they received to be committed to the ambulance. It's $26,000, that was a warrant article, 2007, 8, something like that. That number's remained the same. We've managed it differently since the original intent. And it's been running around $32,000, $33,000. But through various places in the budget, we've managed to find the money to cover that. But again, it should be higher. So the total budget is $445,028, which again is not the one the selectmen approved. So
Okay.
you guys can accept these changes, and then maybe the selectmen will agree to them, or you can tell me that I'm crazy and not accept them, which is fine too. So it's a $1,088 increase over last year. I think the original was $7,000 that the selectmen approved.
Trying to see it. Yeah, they approved the 451,270. That's their approval.
A little over 6.
Yeah. I don't have the percentage, so. But you did reduce your line, your pay. That's very unusual.
I was trying to get it to 0, and that was an easy way to do it, because the smaller these budgets are, the better chance they have of passing, and everybody else getting raises is important to me, so.
I appreciate it. I'm sure the town will too, but
It's not
you are
much, but-
deserving a little bit more though, with all the grants you're looking for.
I think we're up over 500,000.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do,
You directed 6242.
was it?
You directed 6242.
Yep. The budget dropped $6,242. I think we'll stay with this, and then you got questions that Tammy has sent out, and we'll get to that after. I just want to get into the budget right now. But if it's okay, Larry, you got something?
Yeah, in process. It's fine.
Okay. Peg?
Yeah, I do. You went very quickly for the on-call part-time 961. And just looking at the year-to-date expenses, you've already spent almost 57,000 and you're only budgeting, and I just heard you saying you took it from elsewhere, so.
Well, that 57,000, so there's a $25,000 expense that was added to that line 2 weeks ago, which was the year end for the call firefighters. It wasn't supposed to be charged to that line, it was supposed to be charged to the part-time line. So the part-time line looks like there's probably $50,000 left. 40,000, I don't have it.
Yes.
120,
Yes.
right? How much is left?
Yes, good job.
So that, a chunk of that, which will
Okay.
bring that other one down to around 30,000.
Okay. So do you think that the 26 is enough?
No,
Just asking.
it's not. No, that's okay.
If you looked at the book, that 95 pages, I guess, he starts getting into it further down. Something we'll have to, in the future, we'll have to look at. I didn't go through the whole thing, but it'd be interesting to go through it again
Yeah, you should really take, even if you didn't do it yet, take the time to read that whole thing, because I put together an alternative budget which was $100,000 more, which is where I believe that it really should be. And most of that is staffing for the ambulance to provide coverage around the clock, and I got into quite a bit about why. And I understand that we can't do that this year, but it's something that at any given point I might say that we need to do it. And I don't mean want to do it, I mean we need to do it. All the towns around us have gone to 24/7 coverage around the clock for the ambulance because there's no volunteer EMS left, essentially. And we're just keeping our head above water. And one piece of that puzzle could come out at any given time, and then we're gonna have to do something different.
After the budget season's over, probably after March, we have a new board. I'd like to spend some time on that, on one meeting, to go over it. I'll make sure all the committee members, new or those who are staying, make sure they have all the information. I'd like to dig into it deeper, a little bit deeper than that. Any other questions? Tom?
I think looking at line 01-4220-120 part-time salary, really isn't to that line, but I think I heard you mention that you've had fewer people responding to the calls.
Yeah.
Do you see this as an issue that's going to be something coming up going forward, or is it just
An issue that I'm always working on, but it's not a Milton problem. It's a nationwide problem.
okay? Is it because we don't have the people, or they're working elsewhere, or because it's just an on-call thing, or?
It's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
It's a fire service nationwide issue that less and less people are around volunteering, less people are working in town. Everybody has their individual reasons why they're not available, not around, don't want to come out. I could spend hours on that.
Okay, but it's not a case of we're not paying the on-call people enough. It doesn't sound like it. It is other reasons not
It's
not
not
paying.
a financial thing.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions?
And I would not throw money at it.
Okay.
One statistical answer for that is that every 10 minutes that is added on to your commute time to your job represents a 10% loss in volunteerism in the community. So, question on the diesel fuel line, not for its amount, but for a question on the operation of the vehicle engines. You have enough power, enough capacity, size of engine to get down the road, full load, to get to the fire. While it is on standby for either pumping capacity or for auxiliaries and as a command center, half throttle, idle, or what is the fuel usage for a stationary vehicle?
Pumping? Depends on how much you need to pump. How many lines you're pumping?
And if you're not, is it inconsequential as to whether it's over the road or in place? It's much less.
It all depends on the incident. If there's a fire and you have several lines that you're trying to pump to pressure, then that could be.
You're probably burning as much fuel as if you were driving down the road.
It's still running.
And probably more because of the.
Well, yeah, because you're not backing down to slow down. You're running wide open, or at 50% or 75%.
And we've been to fires where we pump wide open for 12 hours straight, where they come and filled us 3 times to make it through a fire. So
That's what I was thinking.
you never know.
Yeah.
Or you can pump a single hand line at a car fire, and you can do it at idle. So
Yep.
too many variables.
Thank you.
Tom?
Another question on line number 01-4220-430, water. I think I heard you say that the highway department will come up and fill up their trucks
When they're grading.
When they're grading. Is there any reason they can't fill up with water from the pond?
They were working on that. That's why I'm hopeful that they'll have that squared away next year.
Okay, all right. It just seemed like we got a lot of gallons in the pond,
Yeah.
and we're not using your domestic water to,
Yes.
and pour back on the road.
I've had that discussion, and I thought it was going to happen, but it didn't happen.
Okay, all right, just curious.
Mark?
I'm looking at 2 budgets. We have the Board of Selectmen approved, and we have the budget updated. the selectman question for you, do you agree with the updated budget?
We voted on it.
We haven't yet.
We haven't voted on the change,
Right.
but it's really effectively because, I mean, you gotta look at, it was $1,572
In the lease.
for the copier for the lease. We approved $1,260, which is a $312 difference.
Yep.
So since that lease went away and it shouldn't have been in there anyway, it's really only a reduction of $4,983, not $6,242. So,
But I guess this has been a reoccurring theme here, because we've had a couple other people that come up and said, oh, we've updated the budget, but it's not
Right.
the budget.
It hasn't
It's not
come
the
yet.
It hasn't
budget.
come to us.
We're
It was
just
done
hearing
after
it.
our last meeting.
right, we're just hearing about it tonight.
Mark, what's gonna happen, this is what's usually gonna happen. They see the budget committee, we start talking that this is a little too high, now they start sending out, well, maybe I can do a little less. I remember in 2014, there was about 20 budgets that came in right through the email all at once. Changes in all budgets, and I had to sort through all that. So
I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate that they've gone back and relooked at it and made the cuts. My question is, they made the cuts, okay, somebody, I don't have to, I look at, but it probably should have gone through the selectmen first.
Oh, but see, they get the first shot at this, and this is how they do it, and then it's usually comes to us, because it will be our budget, and we're gonna decide whether it's gonna go, how it's
Fully
gonna go.
understand that.
And then it goes back to them
I fully
after
understand
that.
that.
After that, we bring it to them, and then this is it, this is our number. Larry?
Let me be historically awkward. In times past and in years unspecified, there used to be a great game of Mommy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy that was played vis-a-vis the department heads and the selectmen. I specify no year, and no one in the room outside of me may remember. This pattern is, if you want to call it a pattern, two people have presented, is different than that game of Mommy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy. If you don't know the game, the first parent says no, so you go to the second one who says yes, and then you whipsaw them back and forth until you get what you want. This is different in that there has been an effort to lift the sandbag up off the stage rather than drop it on an unsuspecting board for more money. That part I like. It would have been perhaps easier if the selectwoman had a complete heads up on what was coming.
Peg?
Yeah, I don't know if this is feasible. I mean, to me, it sounds logical, but there's a $6,000 difference between what the Board of Selectmen has approved and what you just updated. And I heard very loudly and clearly that your part-time EMS's line is down.
Mhm.
Can I make any kind of a suggestion? That 6,000 difference goes to that line?
Which is about what I'm spending.
Pardon?
32,000, which is 32,000 and about what I'm spending.
Yeah. I mean, if people are comfortable with the other cuts that you made along the line, I mean, that one just really stuck right out, and having had to use the,
And I've never made the adjustment because it's a big hit to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Add $6,000 to one line, and everything else, the utilities that you can't control and all that can potentially cover, so.
Peg, this is gonna come to us once we finish
Okay.
everything.
I will make a note
Okay.
of that then.
Now, that's what he recommends, so it's up to us whether we accept it or not. Any other
Okay.
questions for the fire?
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
All set, Dave?
I had one thing, I just gotta find what it was.
Oh,
Dave, there's several
it's done.
department comparisons that I did based on what you had mentioned last year.
Yes, I saw, yes, I saw that. And if I
notice that
recall-
our cost per per call and cost per capita and cost per housing unit is pretty much the lowest of all the similarly run departments. And I didn't pick, there were several departments I didn't pick that don't run an ambulance service. Like the Ospreys, for example, there's 3 departments in one town.
You got your question, Dave? Peg, did you still have one?
Well, I think I just, I found it.
All right.
Because you kept talking about 2 fire stations and going through your backup, it's this one and the one in Milton Mills, not the one down the street.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we all set with questions? Okay, Tammy had some questions.
You just want to take one and pass around. So I went through the email and I basically just highlighted each question and then I tried to respond to it. I don't know if you guys just want to read through it, or you want me to read through them, or how you want to do it. I don't necessarily think I need to go through all these, but if you want me to, I can.
Probably would be good for informational, because that way there may be others, because this came off your website, which I even saw it, and that rounds some questions. Just give a general overview of that, because I did see some of this in myself. There's some things that some people are not aware of.
This didn't come from the website?
No, I went on your website, and that's where the questions started coming in from.
Okay.
Not your website, but your fire station, remember your chief's desk?
So in the monthly report, I noted that we hired 2 part-time people, and the question was, how can we increase staff on what used to be a volunteer fire department? So basically the way it works right now, as you see in the budget, is the ambulance revolving supports part-time staff because there's no volunteers around during the day. We have a set amount of money from that ambulance revolving account that we can use to pay that staff. I could hire 1 guy to work 20 hours, or I can hire 20 guys to work 1 hour. And basically the New Hampshire RSA's and the type of organization that the fire department has is 154C, which says the fire chief is elected and the firefighters are hired by the fire chief. If you look at the ones above that, it says the fire chief is appointed and the selectmen hire the firefighters, or different options. 154C, which is what we are, clearly states that the fire chief hires the firefighters and is the hiring authority. And Andy's gone around and around on this in past boards of selectmen, and it continually comes back that that's the way it works.
In a nutshell, the Board of Selectmen have no control over the elected fire chief. Keep it short and simple. He's got a bottom line budget that he does not have to come. We cannot make him come to a Board of Selectmen's meeting. He is elected by the taxpayers. He answers to the taxpayers. It's that simple. You can go down to every one of these, and the bottom line is he's a decision maker, and we have no control over him.
Tammy, did you want to go through all this?
No, that's fine. This answers my questions. I do have one other question, Chief, that wasn't on this.
Yep.
Just curious, on the uniforms, which was your line 14220-290.
Yep.
Do you know how many sets you have in your inventory now that are over 10 years old?
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't, because we just went through it and threw it all out, and we probably went through, what, 10 sets, 12 sets that we just got rid of. I know that there's at least 3 sets that are in service, people are wearing, that are over 10 years old. And there's probably another couple sets upstairs, and there's probably 4 or 5 people that have 2008 gear that are coming up on that 10-year lifespan. And you know, the thing is, you have a set of gear that's 9, 10 years old. It might look like brand new. They might not have responded much in the last 10 years. But if they do something and something happens to that person, then the town is liable. That's where you kind of get into a situation where you don't want that out there. But unfortunately, we kind of make do with what we have, and we give the oldest gear to the people that are less likely to be put in a situation where they need that. So, you know, old guy like Andy might have a 10-year-old set of gear. No gear. Or no gear.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you had, like, you're asking for 6 sets, that you have 6 in inventory that really have to go?
I'd say at least 6.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we basically go through twice a year. We order a set earlier in the year, or probably half of it earlier in the year, with the ones that we should have ordered the year before. And then we kind of wait throughout the year, make sure there's no new hires that need new gear that we can't find old gear to fit them. And pick the next worst set. And not all gear lasts 10 years.
Right.
Justin's going to be going through gear like every 5 years just because he uses it all the time. And anybody that's active going into fires 5, 6 years, they're going to wear through gear. But it's the 10-year mark.
Take the fire service out. I mean, you go on accidents out on the turnpike.
Yeah.
You get into somebody that's lost a transmission, you get transmission fluid on the gear.
Well, we had
It's
we had a triple fatal on the highway. We had 6 sets of gear that were completely ruined. We had to have it sent out for testing to see if the Hearst fluid was actually going to ruin the gear, and it came back and said that, yeah, you can't use that. Fortunately, the insurance company covered it. I don't think they liked it, and they said they'd probably never do it again. But we managed to get 6 sets replaced for $1,000, which we were thankful because we would have been totally behind the 8 ball if that didn't happen.
Yeah, just to clarify for those of us who live quietly, we're not talking about gear being a clean Hanes t-shirt. We're talking about fire-resistant material subject to abrasion, and from what you were saying, the qualities of fire protection are not apparent from the visual inspection.
Correct. Yes, $2,500 for a coat and a pair of pants. That doesn't count the helmet, the boots, both 300 plus, the hood, which that's another issue that'll probably come up next year. Hoods are now particulate, meaning before they were just Nomex, particulate can get through them. Now with all the cancer research, they're becoming particulate hoods, so they're going from $50 to north of $100. We haven't bought any yet, but we probably will start doing that soon.
I'm sorry.
You said particulate.
Yes.
Okay, not
Meaning
particular, particulate.
Particulate, products of combustion.
Small smoke particle.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I think I got one. Go ahead.
Not a question, but a recommendation, since the chief's gonna do the emergency management, that he goes ahead and does that next, so we don't have to keep him here. I know you hate messing with the order.
I took a lot of time to put this together. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just trying to be.
Okay, I'm flexible. Go ahead.
If anybody has any more questions once they read through this, please let me know.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to go back and address them.
Proof of leadership is flexibility.
Well, I've got it.
All right, emergency management?
Go ahead.
All right, same as last year. Any questions?
Well, that was easy enough. What's the total?
Okay.
53, I have
53, yeah, because we added electricity to it last year. One thing that I am going to do next year, I think, is put some maintenance money in there for the repeater. We had to buy batteries this year, and I charged it to the fire department, and that was like $250. $350. So there's no money if anything happens up there, if the antenna goes down.
Yeah.
If it gets struck by lightning, if the grounding needs to be redone, anything like that. And Justin's our radio guy, and there's no CIP money set aside for any replacements. The tower's been up there for how long now? 30 years?
Longer than that.
Longer than that. So we've done incremental upgrades over time. The repeater was 2005. We got a grant to replace that. That was a statewide grant. but that's nearing its end-of-life expectancy. So there's gonna be some work that needs to go up there. And our radio frequency isn't as strong as it used to be. There's a lot of dead spots in town, so just keep that in the back of your mind going forward.
Okay. Any other questions on emergency management? I don't have the number in front of me, but I had to go through all this. What was the number on that? You people must have.
The total,
Yes.
$5,308.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll go to planning and code. Okay, go ahead, Heather.
We gotta find our way here. Guys, pull this out.
Yep, anytime.
We start with our land use clerk. There's a potential 1.6 cost of living and 2% merit for a request of $38,536. That individual is an hourly employee. She is required to attend night meetings. They average 7 hours a month. So planning board, conservation, and ZBA, so that's another $2,335. Our part-time code enforcement officer's salary, building inspector and health officer is $29,042. FICA is mandated, obviously, is 6.2%, $4,335. Medicare is $1,014. Training is $400. Workshops for code officer, land use clerk, for procedures, updates, and RSA and training. I think this is probably the most key part of their job, is that they need to stay up to date on their training, especially I always get updates too,
Yep.
for that department. So there's something coming down the pipe, so I really encourage you to do that. Registry of Deeds, recordings of documents at Stratford County Deeds, $25. Contracted services, $22,403. Contracted amounts for tax planner, Avatar, annual updates for the building department, software programs, GIS, and the GIS contract, which is new this year. $200 for public notices in the newspaper. Professional services, that's $200 for Adobe Acrobat. Telephone, we didn't put anything in that line. $75 for printing. Supplies is $500 for general office supplies for land use office, building inspector office, paper, files, folders, receipt books, ink cartridges, etc. Cease and desist letters and general mailing. We've done a lot more cease and desist letters this year. Equipment maintenance, $150. Maintenance for 2 computers, 1 laptop, and 2 printers. Replacement of old equipment is equipment purchase, $150. Mileage and travel, $100. Travel for land use clerk and town planner for workshops, travel to registries, etc. Membership and dues, $550 to New Hampshire health officers, New Hampshire building officials, international code conference, and miscellaneous subscriptions. Unanticipated expenses, $50. So the total on that budget is $100,315.
Okay. Any questions?
Take the
Tom?
first one, I think I have the second one. I have the same questions on both of them.
Professional services, why wouldn't there be a line for software for Acrobat? I'm assuming that that's for purchasing Adobe Acrobat?
It's under professional services. It's just the way they put it in the budget. That's always been that way.
Okay. Maybe if they're buying software, it's time to add another line for software. Just a suggestion, that's all. Yeah. I think professional services, I think you're paying somebody to do something. And
Anybody else? You still looking, Dave?
No, I had the only variation of the question is like, so that's to generate out PDFs off of their, like printing out a Word document as a PDF.
She does a lot of different things with Adobe for that office. So,
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, go to the next one. Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Are you doing that one?
What's that?
Actually, I if he was gonna do that.
Oh, go ahead, Larry.
I can do it if he doesn't want to.
Michael Tabery is the chair, and I was the one who was going to be at the meeting. Heather may be able to speak to it better, but basically, we're looking at a flat budget. The Registry of Deeds, public notice, supplies and postage. Training is, right now, Steve Baker is new. The rest of us have been there for a while, so it's not certain that the training line will be used. The Registry of Deeds is for notices of decisions, and this is generally one of those figures that comes in and goes out. We pay the money, we are reimbursed by the applicant. The notices for public hearings, sometimes we have our own notices, much as the town would. Other times, we are the pass-through. But basically, we expect, barring some massive infusion of development for the year, to carry through on the same budget. Heather?
It's a level budget, same as last year.
So it's
And again, the certified mailings, that is a wash. In principle, it would be nice sometime for the charges that the planning board incurs and zoning, if there were a way to show that this money went into the general fund and is actually not a cost to the zoning board or planning board.
Thank you, Larry.
Any questions?
No, because that was my question, was the postage is way over in the expenditures, but thank you, so that,
That boy's been
Yep.
pretty busy this year.
yep. But it comes back in, no problem.
And if you would all get together and ask Michael to run again.
Any questions on zoning? Okay. Conservation's been done, emergency management, and we got now debt service.
The debt service principal budget request is less than last year, it's down to $263,114. We start up at the top, the 216 international dump trucks principal, $64,573.69. The John Deere grader principal, $22,451.45. Bonds principal TANs is $1. We could use $1 to just keep that line open. We don't anticipate needing to do that, but we have to have something in that line. The purchase is complete for the next item, so that's, again, that should be coming off. 2016 fire station bond principal is $147,450.15. The lease principal, the next item is $28,687.71. So the total is $263,114. Pretty straightforward on that.
Yep.
Interest. The next line is $576,190 for the dump truck's interest. Grader interest, $4,341.15. Next item, purchase is complete. Next item is fire station bond interest, $6,843.07. Bond interest TANs, again, recommended we do $1,000 in there. Fire radio lease interest, $1620.15. Unanticipated expenses, $18,000. So the total there is $99,126.27. So the total from the general fund is $362,240.27.
Any questions on that one? Yes, Peg?
Sorry, stupidity is hitting me. If, on the principal for the TANs, 162, you just put $1 in, why would we have $1,000 worth of interest?
That's what we've always put in, that's what it's recommended, just in case something happens. I was talking to a town administrator the other day, and something happened, and they didn't anticipate having to take out a tan, and they haven't in 15 years, and then all of a sudden they had to. So they had to take it out, and then they had to have the interest in there. So that's why I said, "You've never taken it out. What happened?" And they said, "Oh, their tax rate got set really late. The taxes weren't coming in, so they had to have something in there." I said, "You guys are going to be buried this year." And they said, "Yeah, this is why we have to put this in there."
Okay.
And it was just a freaky situation.
Okay, thank you.
I tell you what, a couple of years ago, it was up to 6,000. I think it was 2 years ago. They had that line up to 6,000, and the treasurer said, "There's plenty of money in there. You don't need to have that much money in that bonds, that TANs line." So they dropped it down to 1,000. I believe it was 2 years ago. There was plenty of money. We didn't need to have all of it. So it was dropped down and never changed since. Tom?
No, I think, you got a
Oh.
question down there first.
Okay, Mark?
Your unanticipated expenses, 18,000. So this year, you've used less than 3,000,
Um,
according to your expenditure report.
it's
So
a little
what
bit-
are they?
Anything could happen. We had an accident up at the transfer station earlier in the year. I know this year we're gonna have a couple more expenses that are coming out next week. We have to rip down a building. That's gonna be one of the expenses that we're gonna be going in there. There's other expenses.
Is that going in for this year's?
Mhm.
Okay, so will you use the 18,000 that you have, or?
Oh, I think we're gonna more than use it next week. It's gonna be on the agenda for next week. And then anything, again, accidents, anything can happen, we take it out of there. That's why we have that line.
How did you come up with 18,000?
That's been the standard line we've had for as far back as I can look in the budget.
I got a question on that. You gonna take a building down with part of this 18,000?
That's gonna be my recommendation next week. I have an estimate on it yet.
I thought that was out to bid.
That's another one.
So
I have several that are,
so who's taking this down? Who's gonna do it for this kind of money, some of that money?
it's a property in town that we've owned for a while. It's not one of the ones that are out to bid.
Okay,
And it's, we have a bid, we've had several bids on it, and it's less than that, the amount that's in that line.
okay. Tom, go ahead.
Going back to our bond interest hands, if let's say we had a dollar in that line like we do for the bond principal TANs, and we had to use TANs for some reason, would we be able to move from, say, okay, that was an unanticipated expense, and transfer money from that line into the TANs line, the interest?
From the, what did you say?
From unanticipated expense, okay, I'll use line numbers. If we reduce, let's say, hypothetically, reduce line 4721551 bond interest TANs to $1,
Okay.
and we had something happen where we had to get a TANs, tax anticipation note, and we obviously $1 would not be enough to cover the interest. Would the selectmen be able to transfer money from unanticipated expenses, line 4721-899, to cover that? Is that something that's allowed?
Well, it's a bottom line budget, so it's within, you could do that. We use this line pretty much every year, and I think it's because, again, accidents with different vehicles in town, there's always a $1,000 deductible on most accidents or anything that happens. Any occurrence that happens, our insurance always hits us up. That line gets hit a number of times and in all kinds of different ways. So that gets eaten up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I just
But
wanted
yes,
to make sure that there wasn't something that would prevent you from
No, this is
from
bottom line.
transferring
This is
that I'm not
bottom-
aware of.
That's something that could.
Okay.
That bond principal, if you had to borrow money to continue running the town, I understand that you can't just ask for a certain amount of money. They're gonna tell you how much you're gonna get, and that's it. If you need this amount, they're gonna say that's not it. You're gonna get a rounded amount. If I remember, that was said before, let's say we need, maybe 150,000. Well, that's not you're gonna get. They'll say, you're gonna take a 200,000. You don't have a choice almost on what it is. They usually tell you.
You have to make it, it's gotta be made worth its while.
Is that what it is? I mean, I remember they saying,
You have to go to, right, you have to, it's a process.
okay. Well, this ends the budget presentation, but I want to keep, this board to keep in mind that next week is the final. If we should get done early enough, I'd like to finalize the budget. Otherwise, we're gonna have to find a day to do it. You know, depending, we might have to go a little over 9 o'clock, but we could finalize it December 18th. So if you already know what changes you want to make, if any, we need to be ready for it. Because otherwise, I gave you a calendar. We have the 19th and the 20th. Then you got the following week after Christmas. I don't have it with me, but anyway, there's 2 other days that we can get in there, that we can do it. But the selectmen have got to have that final number so they can put it in the warrant articles. Yeah, that's the one, like the 26th or the 27th of December. Or we can go the 19th or the 20th. I know, Heather, you're not going to be here, but
Yeah, the 19th and 20th.
the thing is, if we get done, work early tonight, we could actually start going through the budgets. Line, department by department, according to the way they are set up on the expenditure report. So if you have some things you want to do, change, be ready, because we're going to go through each department in order. So just keep that in mind if we get done, be ready for it. I know you're going to see those budgets that very night. If you're not ready for it, we can schedule another day. But I need to know which one we can schedule so I can give it to Dana. And that's, Larry?
Right now, as what I always call a statement of practical treatment, what are we going to be doing at 7:30 this evening?
Finish the budgets right here. We got the approval of minutes. I'm only stating that, Larry, because if we can finish it that night, we don't have to schedule another meeting. Okay, is that all right, or?
Oh, that's fine.
I just wanted, because they're sitting here, they're not gonna want to sit through the rest of this stuff probably, but that's just, if you want to be here, if the department heads want to be here, that we're there, if there's any other questions that will come along, we can ask them before we make anything final.
Then just structurally, not to speak for the Board of Select
Thank you.
persons. The department heads have come and have, in a couple of cases, found a way to reduce their budgets. The overarching responsibility of the board is the health, safety, and welfare of the town. Presumptively, the changes that the department heads have found are those which will not be against the interests of the town, and you will be approving them because less money is a lower budget. So, it is possible that another department head might come to the selectmen and say, I can reduce my budget by this amount. You'll be meeting next Monday or at another date to convenience, and probably accepting the recommendations of fire and tax collector. Then that will give you your number, and the budget committee is still at liberty to take a new number that the department heads have given and make that part of the budget that we will present ourselves. That sound?
You said it.
Sound on target?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not a statesman, but go ahead. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
If I
Tom?
can make one request before the Board of Selectmen leave and the Town Administrator. If there's any way that the budgets that were presented in PDF form on the USB stick, if we could get those in Excel, that would be greatly appreciated. Hopefully we'll avoid, if we do that, the situation we had before.
Okay, I will say that, to begin with, that was a discussion that was had between the person, a couple months ago. I had sat down with both Vanessa and Danielle, and we said, who's going to put everything, I'm collecting all the budgets, who's going to put everything on the PDFs, or on the sticks? And how are we going to put everything in one place? And one person said, I want to be the one, only one person is going to do it because it becomes too chaotic if everybody's putting it in all that. So we assigned one person to do it, and that person I think's done a good job with doing it. So then that person went ahead and met with, and I was there when that person met with Bob Carrier. And Bob Carrier, and we all said, this is how we're going to do it. So the decision was really with your chairman. So please, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, and I don't think anyone in our town hall wants to step on anyone's toes. You guys decide how you want it, and then that comes back to us. Because we're getting in the middle of a conversation on the budget committee.
We got like half of them in Excel and half of them PDF.
Okay, the only reason it was in PDF, and this is why I have the master book, this is the one we go with. The fear is that somebody's gonna go in there and be able to change those lines, okay? And not only that, I don't know the time constraints that they got. It looks like it's a lot of work to do. The expenditure reports are nothing. Apparently, they have no trouble with doing them. But when you go into this, you've got to put 5 or 6 columns.
Respectfully, Bob, the budgets were in Excel. You can tell that by looking at the PDFs. It's
Yes.
just saving it. Because what I had to do last year was take the data that was presented and put that in a spreadsheet. If we get the spreadsheets as they are, that prevents that. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to, by hand, take the PDFs we got, put that data in Excel. Where is there more likelihood to have an error happen when I do that? Or if we get the Excel as it is, I just copy it on my computer and...
See, I'm using Excel, but in a different way. I mentioned that back in September, that instead of having them scroll, I get tabs for each budget. I just tap it and there it is. Any numbers I change will go on to another page, which show the final bottom line number.
And that's exactly why, but I don't have Excel for all the budgets. I don't have it for fire, tax collector.
What I did is I took every one of these and I did it by hand. I set it up by hand, and so it took me a long time to do it.
And that's what I'm saying, is that if we can get the budgets...
I think we're asking them to do more than what they were asked.
They've done it.
They gave it to us, but we don't.
But the work's done. That's what I'm saying. The work's done. It's in Excel.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you want to make it so you can edit it. I think that's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do. Because if, let's say, for example, and I don't know if we need to keep them here for this discussion, it doesn't sound like.
Actually,
No, yeah, it doesn't.
But
How about if somebody just tells us what, you guys decide and tell me what you want.
no, I want it the way it always was. Okay? That, I don't know, right here.
The way that it always was.
This here, okay? Oops, that's the wrong.
Yeah.
The one that you gave me with the, well, this has only got 4 columns. It's the one you just gave us with the default, the 2 years, the default, the regular.
Yeah, and that's with that. But if we could get that in an Excel file and not a PDF file, that's all I'm asking. It's in Excel. All they got to do is give it to us. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is transcribe that. I'm going to put that in Excel, and there's a really good chance I will fat finger something. And so then we're going to have a discussion of which number is right.
The one that the secretary is going to take, all motions will go through her, and we'll do what we did last year, go through all the motions to find out where the error was. We discovered it.
Yeah, we did, and it was painful. What I'm saying is that if we can get the Excel file, we reduce the likelihood of that happening.
Apparently, I'm not going to make it. Larry had been having his weight on his hands.
I loved Star Trek.
Okay, get to the point, Larry, please.
The point is, all he did was say, computer, make it so. What is out there that the person who is working on the town budget just says, computer, make it so, and the computer says, yes, sir, and translates the PDF to an Excel? Does that exist?
Going the other way, yes. You start with Excel. Excel is what you put it together in a spreadsheet, and then you print it to a PDF. That's how you get the PDF.
I'm sorry,
or you send somebody the Excel file, and it's in Excel.
If that is nothing more than a couple of coded instructions to a computer that can be done in under 5 minutes by someone who knows it, why are we talking about it?
I'm kind of confused. I guess I'm kind of lost. It's just,
I
I think we need one.
That's all I know.
Well, go ahead, Erin.
I just spoke with the chief. We're getting close to the holidays now. we have a lot of people who are gonna be going on vacation. I see no reason why. I think we learned from the mistakes that happened last year. We all are aware of what happened last year. I think everybody's good with what happened. It's over. They're gonna be more careful with calculating the numbers. I believe the police department already has it in Excel.
Yeah.
The fire
We
chief
got
said
those.
that he will send it in Excel. And I just think that for expediency, let's go ahead and move forward, send it in Excel. We need to really get it done if we can. I don't think there's a lot on the agenda for next week. I think most of them, correct me if I'm wrong, are gonna be pretty quick budgets. So if we can get it all completed next Tuesday night, I think everybody would like to enjoy the holidays.
The budget committee can overrule me.
Bob, I just don't want you to, I mean, I'm kind of stuck in the middle, you can't even see me, so I
I
just.
guess my question is, how much work is it to do it? I mean, I know they all had theirs, and I mentioned it, they sent it separately.
It's not difficult at all. I can do it.
I mean,
And
if
I'm
it
not a
comes,
computer whiz.
Okay.
if it comes in, if, it depends on what you're, I think most of them are in Excel to begin with.
At this point, as she said, the chief already said he can do it without a problem, which covers the fire budget and the emergency management budget. Literally, there are only two budgets left, and that's the library budget and the welfare budget. Those are the only two that, oh wait, welfare was in a PowerPoint, so we can pull that data out. So it's literally just the tax collector and the library. Those are the only two that we don't already have in Excel.
Did you look at the treasurer's report? If you see it, there's one I had to fix. It was not clear.
It's in Excel.
Yes,
We
that's
have
the
that.
one I put in. The one before that, if you look at your sheets, can't make any sense with it. And the moderator, he just used an expenditure report. And that's another one that I fixed.
I'll probably have to present both of those, I mean, or one.
You'll have to put them on, because what it is, that they're not on Excel. One is, but if you've seen it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
We also would
Yeah.
like to see the meeting for the budget committee conclude next Tuesday evening, so I
Yes.
think we're in agreement on that.
it's not impossible. Right now, it's 7:30.
Right.
We could easily go through it. I'm sure we're not gonna go through every single line or
Yeah,
anything.
I think if we send-
I think an hour and a half.
Right.
If we got done with the other budgets by 7:30, I could see us getting through this in an hour
There's a
and
lot
half.
of small ones in that other one, in the
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah, especially if we look, as budget members, look at where we want to make it, so we know when we come in, we think, we've got our discussion points. I think we should easily be able to do that
Okay.
next week.
If you can get those in Excel,
Oh, and you're okay with it? Okay. I will
Okay.
get you everything
We
you
have
have.
to open.
I just don't wanna add more work. But you wanna give them a list, Tom, that you need?
You know how to find it.
Can I email you? Okay.
Okay, we're going to, yes, Ryan.
Could the Board of Selectmen just open it, are you guys all set with?
You're all set. We're gonna go in the regular session. We just got the meeting minutes and maybe a
Yeah,
little bit of
close their
stuff.
meeting.
So you can leave anytime you'd like. We're all set. Thank you.
I'd just like to officially close our meeting. Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for coming down.
After
Yeah.
my name, so it's switched.
Oh, yeah, you get that.
What I had. Okay. Okay, now I gotta go get another agenda.
And selectmen.
Okay, I apologize. I had a printout for November 13th, and somewhere they're gone. These are the meeting minutes that were corrected. I think I need one more over there. Unfortunately, I don't have the 13th, so these are the 8ths. I need the approval of minutes. Does anybody have a chance to look them over?
Yep.
I have them electronic, and I did look over both.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the November 8th, 2018, with the corrections that have already been sent to Sherry and to the rest of the committee. for
Need a
review.
second?
Second.
Second by Larry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Justin He abstains, one abstention. Okay, if I read the November 13th ones with the corrections that were made in it,
I will make a motion to approve the November 13th, 2018 minutes with the corrections that were sent to Sherry and were sent to all of the board members.
need a second?
Second.
Second, I think by Larry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And Justin, you abstain. Okay, one abstention.
No, 2. I wasn't here.
You weren't here, okay. Thank you for correcting me. Okay. And the 5th are not ready yet. They will be by probably next week.
Did you send them?
I hope you didn't send them.
Not yet.
Not yet, she hasn't got them.
Online. Easier for me. Thank you.
As soon as she gets them done, she'll send it to the committee. Now, the next item is any other business that may come before the board. Is there any? Seeing none, there's questions or comments from the public. Which, okay, Nick?
Does anybody want the Excel form besides Tom?
Yeah.
3. Speak now or for a word piece.
4. 5.
Why don't
I'll
you,
send it to
Nick, if you want, you can send it to me, or I'll send it to the whole
I'll
committee.
send it
Yeah.
to you right now.
I'll give, oh, okay. Right now.
Make it so.
Okay. All right. Did the police chief get,
I have a question.
yes?
Is there a reason why the fire department budget was not completely reviewed, his whole 90-page budget that he presented to you?
This is only for the budget for this year. I know, this is planning that he's got coming down, and we didn't go through the whole thing because all we do is the money part of it. I saw all the comparisons with the town and the response times. This would be something that I would like to look at a special budgetary meeting, regular meeting, so we can go into it in more detail. This is like tonight, you just went through the budget itself, because the other stuff is not set in stone, but it's something we need to look at for future, because he's going to present it, and we need to know what is it, what is in it, and what are we going to do with it.
For education purposes, though, do you feel it would be appropriate for the budget committee to review it before you approve his budget?
What is, approve his budget tonight?
No, in general, before you approve the budget for this year, do you think for educational purposes, because I know there were some questions, do you think it would be appropriate to review that before you approve his budget?
We're going to look at everything, because we're going to go through it, and there may be questions still to be asked there, and then the committee will make their decision on what they want to do with it. Okay, I mean, we're not going to make nothing final tonight. We're going to look it over and see where we are in the budgets. So,
Yeah, and.
go ahead, Tom.
And if we would have had a further question about, like, wanted the detail of the on-call salary structure or something, you know, we would have brought that up, and Nick would have delved into that portion of the presentation. You know, or if we would have had another question about, you know, why is the heating so much, we would have delved into that portion of his presentation. But all the committee members did get a copy of the presentation on
Yes.
when they distributed USB sticks.
Yes, we got the whole 95, and I couldn't print them all out.
Right, absolutely.
You know,
Okay.
but it's something I want to look at. At one of the budget meetings, right after the elections, we'll have new board members, or the same ones we got. I want to take one meeting to go through that thoroughly. So I'll let Nick know about that when the time comes. Okay, Larry?
There are those who do read and note, for example, that the quint will be useful on farmhouse fires where access to the building is difficult, and that generally regionalization and the decline in the participation of volunteer departments is a factor, and that the Milton is moving toward having its own in-house capabilities to compensate for the lack of dependability from emergency and mutual response. So,
And I
yeah.
appreciate that you read that, because mutual aid is extremely important to this community. It's very important, and we need it, and we rely on it, but other towns surrounding us do rely on it. So it's very important, and I really appreciate that you read that.
Yeah. If you'll permit the joke, I will read the label on the rope that is hanging me where it says not to be used for overhead lifting.
Yeah. We're going to read it thoroughly. Those are good questions that were asked by Tammy, but instead of bringing it all out there, there's a lot there, and I may even add it to the minutes.
I think that would be appropriate for the community to be able to see that.
People will be able to see all the questions that were asked, and in more detail, they'll see it. When the December 11th meetings are set up, I'm going to combine it with that. Okay, and I'm considering doing the same thing with the fire chief, I mean, not fire chief, the police chief as well. His documentation was great. I went through it, quite detailed. And I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add that on there too, so the public can see what it is, and they can judge for themselves. But it was well done. So,
And,
yes.
and a note, it's like last presentation. That was one of the things that I brought up was taking all of these and actually publishing them on the town website so everybody could go look at them in general. And that almost makes more sense that everybody can have them available. They can download them. They can look at all the details. They don't need us sitting here having to read them to us. It's like we can read them, and so can everybody else. So they're kind of like the background material for his. What he did was the executive summary, and as Tom pointed out, if we had questions, he would have dug into the more details, and we just didn't today need more detail on any of those individual line items.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, next meeting is, what, Tom?
No, oh no, I'm
All set?
good. No, I'm good.
All right, next meeting, Tuesday, December 18th. And be prepared to come in with all the changes you may want to make, and we'll get a final number in there. And if we get done, like we did tonight, because there's more small ones, there's just maybe one or two that are still big. Depends though. But I'd like to finish it off then and be done with it, so the selectmen can have their bottom line number.
Yeah.
Actually, the people.
Yeah, I think we should be able to, I think.
Okay,
We
so,
can review all the changes we might want to make ahead of time.
okay, so you've got till next Tuesday. And need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn was made by Larry, second by Tom. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? You can stay here. Okay, thank you very much, people.
Well, can we still take these binders, or do we need to leave them?
No, keep the binders,
Okay, so-
Yeah.
because the other presentations are in there. I'm not sure if I dare to keep them in order.
The top two left.
They changed a little bit.
The
I'm doing the best I can,
broadcast 1 6 recording.
but I will not.
Looks like you're in dish.
Guarantee. Oh, yeah.